Wall Street fell after stronger than expected retail sales data. The U.S. stock market fell on the back of disappointing data from China and stronger than expected retail sales data in the U.S., which added to interest rate worries. As of 9:34 a.m. Eastern Time, the Dow Jones was down 159 points, or 0.4%. The S&P 500 was down 0.4%, and the Nasdaq Composite was down 0.2%. Data on industrial production and retail sales in China point to a slowdown in the country's economic growth last month. On Tuesday, China's central bank, unexpectedly for everyone, slightly lowered its key interest rate. In the U.S., major stocks rose on Monday, with the tech Nasdaq Composite leading the way, climbing 1.1%. The sector has been fueled this year by expectations that the U.S. Federal Reserve is close to completing its rate hike process. Global investor sentiment improved in August and is the least bearish since February 2022, a Bank of America survey showed on Tuesday, with cash share falling from 5.3% to 4.8% and equity preponderance shrinking to the smallest values from April 2022. Home Depot retail sales and profits in the spotlight. The Federal Reserve is expected to pause its rate hike cycle at its next meeting in September, but debate continues over whether the July rate hike will be the last. The latest data on U.S. retail sales for July showed that they rose more than expected, and may be a factor determining the further actions of the Federal. The annual rate rose by 3.17% against expectations of growth by 1.5%, and the monthly increase was 0.7% against expectations of growth by 0.4%. The numbers are in line with a trend of consumer resilience even in the face of a rate hike, although the Fed may decide it still has a lot of work to do to calm inflation. Earnings are also due this week for a number of leading retailers, starting with Home Depot, which beat earnings expectations but showed lower store sales. The report could bolster expectations for consumer spending ahead of the pivotal holiday sales this fall. Home Depot shares rose 1.9%. Despite the fall, the home improvement retailer reported a smaller than expected decline in quarterly store sales, as demand for goods was supported by Americans spending money on small home improvement projects amid signs of a housing market stabilizing. The company also announced a $15 billion share buyback plan. Tesla has released cheaper versions of the cars in the U.S. Tesla will be in the spotlight after the electric car maker launched two lower-range versions of the Model S sedan and Model X SUV in the U.S. Homebuilders D.R. Horton and Lennar rose in pre-market trading after Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway opened new positions in those stocks, and Discover Financial fell after the announcement of the resignation of its CEO. Oil fell in price against the backdrop of a slowdown in economic growth in China. Crude oil prices fell on Tuesday after weak data on industrial production and retail sales in China showed that growth in the world's second-largest economy slowed further last month, which is likely to lead to lower demand for crude oil. WTI futures fell 1% to $81.66 a barrel, while Brent futures fell 0.7% to $85.64 a barrel. Gold futures fell 0.5% to $1,934. On Tuesday, the Chinese central bank unexpectedly cut its key rate for the second time in 3 months to try to support the struggling economy, but this was not enough to turn the tide, especially after the Russian central bank raised its key interest rate by 350 basis points to 12%. At the end of the session, attention will turn to the U.S. market, where inventory data from industry group the American Petroleum Institute will be released ahead of official inventory data from the Energy Information Administration on Wednesday. Subscribe to my channel, where you will learn a lot of interesting things. Put a bell and be the first to know about new releases.